Hello everyone, thank you for joining me here today. In this video, I'm going to be watching the Halo Infinite Inside Infinite Ask 343. This will be the first time that I've seen this video in its entirety, and I'm going to be pausing it and giving my thoughts and comments on their replies. I've only seen little bits and clips of this, so we're going to go ahead and jump right in and take a look at the video.
Hey everyone, it's Unishek here, and today we're bringing you another Ask 343 video about Halo Infinite. So our first question from Twitter is, the dynamic day-night cycles look fantastic. Can we also expect some degree of dynamic weather?
Yeah, that's a great question. Part of our job on the art team and the graphics team was to make the ring feel alive, right? And so a big part of kind of a living ecosystem is weather, at least on our planet, and we want to emulate that on the ring. So we've definitely added things like there's a really cool wind system, which is not just visual but also audio. We have fog systems, you could call them, that come in.
I have a wind system. I wonder if that's going to impact like throwing grenades or the projectiles coming from certain weapons, rockets, maybe even actually affect the grapple hook. Doesn't sound like it, just that it's a visual thing where you'll see trees and grass kind of flowing in the wind, which you see pretty commonly in a lot of open world games or just games that take place like out in a nature aesthetic.
Into different altitudes and different times of day. We didn't go down the road of having rainstorms and thunderstorms and snowstorms and things like that for our launch this year. But
so there's no rain, there's no thunderstorms, there's no snow.
We're really excited about the future and what that might mean for things like that.
Gotcha.
At launch.
Yeah, day and night is super cool. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting more hands-on with all of that. This one is there a plan to bring back dual wielding in Halo Infinite?
Currently, no, that's not in the cards right now. And just to get into that a little bit is whenever you set out to make a game the size of Halo Infinite, there's just so many things you can do. I think we have a very talented team where we can do anything, but we can't do everything. And so we wanted to really focus down on the weapon, the gunplay, grenades, melee, and where we wanted to put that bet this time was on equipment, bringing equipment back. And so right now, dual wielding isn't necessarily there, but that's because we're trying to focus on everything.
I really hate to be this one who kind of hammers this over and over again, but this excuse, I don't buy it. Okay? They have their campaign and they have their multiplayer, and they are essentially two separate entities. They're going to be selling the campaign and they're going to be giving the multiplayer away for free. If Bungie could do this back in 2007, 2006, when they were developing the game, put dual wielding in, build a campaign, build a full multiplayer, introduce Forge mode, introduce theater mode, they can do it. They could. I really feel like they could. They're choosing not to. And aside from just the explanation that he gives here, I don't feel like it's a good enough excuse. I don't feel like it's a good enough reason. If they're talking about reasons why something can't be done in a new game that they're developing when somebody else has done what they're doing previously in the past, over a decade ago, on hardware that is much inferior to the PCs that are out today, much inferior to the consoles that are out today, then honestly, to me, that's not a good excuse. It's just, I'm sorry, but it's just not.
All the other things that we're working on.
Gotcha. So it's more to just keep the team focused and make sure the stuff that is there is fantastic.
That's right. Yeah, focus on what we have. Yeah, totally.
And he's just Unishek here. He's giving him the answer and he's just agreeing with it. Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's it. It just, I don't buy it. Gotcha.
Thank you for that. I'm gonna keep us moving along to our next question here. Will there be playable elites in Halo Infinite?
Okay, that's another big question. You know, similar to the last answer, no, we're not currently planning on supporting elites as a playable character in Infinite. And the reason is, you know, this is a Master Chief story and a Spartan story, especially in multiplayer. We want to make sure that we focus on how Spartans battle against each other and that it feels fair and it's competitive, it's balanced. And, you know, we love elites, but never.
This is another thing. It's a Spartan story. Essentially, so is every Halo game. Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo Reach. Halo 2, 3, and Reach all had Spartans in them. Halo Reach took them out of the competitive playlists, but Halo 2 and 3 let you use them. It was still just as competitive playing with the elites as it was playing with a Spartan. I personally never really played with the elites, just because they aren't the multiplayer character that I wanted to use. I always use a Spartan. But nonetheless, this is something that I know the community has been asking for a lot. You can't give these reasons, like, and expect people to just be like, oh, okay. It's like, listen, the things that people are asking for existed in the previous games on lesser hardware, and they worked out just fine. That's why people want them back. I don't know why they're not doing dual wielding. I don't know why they are not bringing the elites back. Maybe they feel they can't do it as good as Bungie did, so they're just not going to try. Maybe that's a possibility. But I would really rather them just come out and say, you know what, it was done really good the first time, and we don't want to trample on that. That would make sense to me. But coming up with these excuses that it's a Spartan story, it's competitive multiplayer, it's just, those are just, they're really bad excuses. Let's just be honest here.
Say never. Maybe we'll see that one day, but right now the current plan is you're going to be playing Spartans.
Gotcha. Thank you for diving.
And you can just tell by the way he's answering these questions, the Quinn, when talking about dual wielding and talking about elites, he knows that people are going to be upset about this, and you can just see it on his face.
Take us on over to our next question. Is the game going to be open world or semi-open world?
I think that when you talk about open world or semi-open world, there's a lot of preconceived ideas of what that means. Are you going to be out there gathering leather and crafting and those sorts of...
No, I don't know where this guy's going or where he's coming from, why he thinks that if you have an open world game that you are going to be crafting or collecting leather to craft. GTA 5 is an open world, and you do not upgrade your weapons whatsoever. You don't collect anything. Well, we're going to have to see where he's going with this, because that just does not make any sense.
Things, and that's not what we're about.
No.
We were inspired very early on from missions like Silent Cartographer from Halo Combat Evolved. And this mission, one of the things that really stuck with me is how open it was, how much player freedom, player choice you had to decide where you want to go, when to engage. It has, you can go inside, you can go outside, you're driving on your Warthog, you're with Marines. So we wanted to, when we talk about rebooting, or the spiritual reboot of the franchise, we wanted to capture the essence of this feeling of player choice. And so I think when we talk about world size, it's good to understand how we got to the size of the world that we have. Now, if you think about missions, in game, like in Halo 5, there's on Meridian, there's a mission where you're driving a Scorpion up a road, and it's cool. The space is designed for the Scorpion. And once you complete that mission, you leave the Scorpion behind and you go on to the next mission. What we started asking ourselves is, what if you could keep that Scorpion? What if you could drive that Scorpion to the next mission and use it again? And then we started taking that further. What if instead of going through the front gate of that mission, you can drive that Scorpion up on the hill around the backside and, you know, blow up that Wraith that's parked there before the enemy even knows you're around. And this really, like, struck a chord with us where...
What does anything with what he's talking about have to do with the world is open world or semi-open world? That is a very simple yes or no question, and here's why. And he's going on and on about essentially nonsense. This is not he's not answering the question here.
That's what that experience that we felt in Silent Cartographer really was about. It was about giving me a bunch of toys to play with, putting me in this world where I can choose how and when and where I want to use those toys, and approaching the situation how I like. And so going back to the world size, we expanded the world to account for this kind of combat, or to account for Halo combat. So we have bases that are open. There's a road leading up to the base, but there's also the hillside. And you can follow that road down to
Still
another
not
base
answering the question.
behind the mountain. But it's all still, it's Halo combat. It's not trying to be anything else. And that's what's really exciting to us. It's that expansive combat area that you really felt like you had in Silent Cartographer, realized now with the cool next generation consoles.
That's awesome.
That in any way did not answer, is Halo Infinite open world or semi-open world? Doesn't answer the question at all. Not even a little bit. Going on about taking a tank from one mission to the next in open spaces, like, it's, I mean, from what we're able to look at, from what we saw with the July reveal last year, and the way that they're kind of describing this almost makes me think of you're dropped into different zone areas, almost kind of like how a lot of RPGs have with The Witcher or Assassin's Creed or other open world games. I'm trying to think that do this. Metro or even Gears of War 5, where you have these areas where there's missions and story objectives to be done in that area. You do everything, you can do it in whatever order you want, and you get it all cleaned up. And then you move on to the next area, and then maybe you're able to go back to a previous area. Even like moving to the different maps that Monster Hunter has, if you guys, anyone has played Monster Hunter who's watching, where you can go through and you can do whatever you want in this specific map, and then you go back to base, and then you go out to a different area, and that's kind of open worldish. But his answer was absolutely nothing. It did not answer at all that question. That's disappointing.
And I always enjoy playing the game in campaign, whether I want to roll up with a tank like you mentioned, or start picking people off from afar, or even just go in guns blazing. It's always
Well, I'd like to thank you guys for joining me here today for this look at the Ask 343 on the Inside Infinite. I skipped over a lot of questions that were about halfway through. A lot of them I just didn't feel were honestly super important or relevant to the game or gameplay or features that they took in and out. Some of the stuff that I did have in here, though, just absolutely blew my mind. Some of the explanations that they gave for not having the elites or dual wielding, the question that really just didn't even get answered was asking if the game was open world or semi-open world. The guy that answered that question didn't even answer it. He went on this really long diatribe of taking tanks with you to the next mission when they really just don't, it wasn't relevant to what was being asked. So I guess we're just gonna have to wait till a little bit later on. Hopefully maybe they'll reveal more of the game and we'll find out exactly the answer to that question, because that is something that I really am interested in. But what do you guys think about the Inside Infinite, about not having the playable elites, not having dual wielding? Do you want the game to be open world or semi-open world, or cut into sections like a lot of other open-ish world games are? Let me know in the comments section down below. Don't forget to check out the links in the description. I've got my social media, and of course support for the channel is there as well. And I'd like to thank you guys for joining me here today, and I'll see all of you guys on the next video.